Is it early?
Yeah, it's the first thing after she says spoken.
Just not much. We just face.
Sure.
Just.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sharon Sagers. Seems kind of silly to say that every time, but that's who I am, and I really welcome you and happy that you are here today. And I love how full this place is today. We are going to start our time together in song. This is Thank You for This Day, and it's a little handout that came with That was joyful. First-time attendees, I'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone joining us today for the first time. Unity is a positive, practical, progressive approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. Unity honors the universal truths in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. If you're joining us for the first time, and I know a couple of you are, I'm so glad to see you. Help yourself to a welcome packet. There's a little white envelope out in a basket that says Unity, and there's also a mug that you can have that are close by the front door there. If you're joining us online for the first time, please visit unitydemoines.com to learn more about the Unity movement. I'm going to start with announcements. And it's only half a page today, so bear with me. We're going to have some hands-on healing again today in the front of the sanctuary following the service. I had no idea. That is very, it's very good, but it's very powerful is the word I was looking for. As always, this Tuesday at noon is our weekly midday meditation with Deb Jennings and Justin. Also, please join us this Tuesday evening for the new moon gong meditation at 6:30. Now here's a long one. You might have seen the bright orange sheets laying around. Linda's holding it up. Oh, wait a minute. I brought one up here to hold it up and show it off. We are starting our we are starting our holiday season here at Unity, and we're ready. After you've enjoyed your Thanksgiving, we're inviting you to join us next Sunday after the celebration service for the hanging of the greens soup potluck. So this yellow or orange sheet is a sign-up. Unity is going to provide 3, I found out, really, really good soups. And we'll provide some sort of healthy drinks and stuff. But on here, you can just circle what else you want to bring. Don't bring soup. Don't bring your own drinks. Other than that, anything goes. But that's what these are for. And we hope to see a lot of you, because after we have the service, we have the potluck, and then we're going to decorate the sanctuary while we listen to a rehearsal of all the Christmas music that you're going to hear at the candlelight service. So it's going to be a really fun day. Sarah has a short announcement for us all.
I do. Actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about the music too. We've had to take all of November off because I got COVID and lost my voice, and I'm almost back to, I'd say I'm at 97% now. I've got a little congestion, but we're going to go ahead and do the 2 meetings in December, and the first one is going to be a cooperative effort with Sarah Davis, another one of our new members, and we're going to talk about how to be and live with our dead loved ones. We were going to do it at Hallows, but COVID. So that's on the 1st of December, and then on the 8th, we are going to have our community sing. Even if I don't have any voice at all, we'll show up and I'll have recordings to work with. So Thursday night, 6:30, come join us. And if you happen to want to learn to play dulcimer, talk to me, because I do that too on Thursdays. The other thing I want to talk about is what I ended up doing instead of the Spirit Fair. I had my booth all set up, and then I got sick and had to stop, and so it was all set up in my living room. So we're just going to open a boutique in our front room. And there's a flyer on the back. Please pick one up. We're going to be open this Friday, and then every Saturday through most of December. And we're going to have the creations that me and my husband work on, our poetry, photography, and writing, music. We do a lot of things. And then also I do vintage thrifting and resale. So show up, and it's going to be a fun time. We'll have wassail. I'll probably sing once in a while. Come on out. We're over by Altoona, and we're by, on the back page it tells you pretty much every store you could ever think of, including that huge Bass Pro Shop and the outlet mall. So we're 5 minutes from that. Come do your shopping and then come hang out with us.
Thank you, Sarah. Let's now turn to the first page in your Unity songbooklet, and let's say our statement of faith together. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, omnipotent. And the Unity affirmation. As we say this together, we feel our oneness. Unity of Des Moines is a radiating center of the Christ light, mighty to attract its good and to radiate good to others. Just so you know, our meditation is going to be in a little different spot today, which is great. However, I don't want to lose track of the fact that there are people in our community that need your prayers. So I'm going to go through the list of the people that we pray for today and that I hope you keep in your prayers and thoughts this week. Seal. Honey, I'm so glad to see you walk in.
Thank you.
Yes. Janice. Our Christy, who fell. Wayne, who looks pretty good now after having to deal with some issues. So I'm going to take you off of this list next week, Wayne. Greg, Austin, Scott, Natalie, and for those I haven't told yet, Natalie is my granddaughter who is now a member of the U.S. Army. She left Tuesday to go to basic training, and I guess 20-year-olds can do anything they want. And also a special prayer for someone close to our community, Peter, who is going through some really deep issues right now. So thank you for listening to me do that. Next, I'm going to read the daily word for today, which title is Grace Blesses My Life in Every Way. If I'm feeling overwhelmed or find myself in the midst of conflict, I don't need to struggle. Grace, the ceaseless activity of divine love, is mine to claim. This infinite resource of spirit carries me through even the most challenging circumstances. It is expressing in my life right now. I need not earn grace. It's never withheld. Just as water flows when I turn the tap, saying yes to grace is all I have to do for divine life, love, wisdom, and strength to flow freely to every part of my life. Centered in grace, I am at peace. My thinking is clear, and I possess ample understanding, compassion, and insight. Drawing from this divine gift, I bring harmony and joy to my relationships. I move forward with renewed confidence, energy, and efficiency. From 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9, is our affirmation. He said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness." I'm going to say this in a couple of things, and then I want you to say them after me. My grace is sufficient for you.
My grace is sufficient for you.
For power is made perfect in weakness.
For power is made perfect in weakness.
Thank you. Now, we're going to have another song.
I trust him.
This is I Trust in Love, which is also on your handout.
Thank you to our musicians. They're wonderful. Now I'd like to ask Vivian to come up. She is going to help us go through, I believe it's the last 3 of the 12 powers, and I'm going to sneak a meditation in after that.
Good morning. Get to the right page here. Okay, our Our three powers for this morning is zeal, which you can see over there, followed by release and life. Zeal is associated with being unstuck and unstoppable. It's that energy that when there's something we know is ours to do, but we're kind of caught in hesitation from fear, we turn to our power of zeal. That's the one that says, okay, I can do this. Never done it before, but I can do it today anyway. Zeal is also associated with the color. Well, there it doesn't look very orange, but it could be saffron. Those are the two colors it's associated with. And it's located at the back of the head. And the disciple associated with it is Simon the Canaanite. And as I said, zeal is the impulse to go forward. And Charles Fillmore came up with an affirmation for zeal that's one of my favorite. It says, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do those things that ought to be done by me. Let's see. And other affirmations are, let's see. How would I do it? Another writer attributes zeal to being a contributing factor in cases where maybe you're feeling like your energy is become stagnant and needs to be stirred up. And so another way you can do that, if you need to call on any of the powers, you can just either call it out and say zeal, 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 or I am zeal. I am zeal. I am zeal. And I'm ready, willing, and able to go forth with zeal to do what I'm here to do. So the second power we're going to talk about today is release. And it's also, in some of the books, it's called elimination, and in other, it's called renunciation. And one of the authors that I consulted their work, she calls release the power of no. And it's associated with the color amber or russet, and it's located in the lower abdomen. And the disciple associated with it is Thaddeus. Now, my personal experience recently with release, you know, honey, you've got to clean stuff out, and there's just a little too much of your wonderful treasures. I mean, I have so many treasures at home, and I have to release some of them. So picking out which ones I find is a very slow process because everyone is dear. So, and sometimes we have to release things that we have loved, but it's time to let them go. Other times, there have been situations where maybe we've carried energy from that situation that wasn't the most comfortable. And that again is where we can release it or renounce it. Or just plain say, I'm eliminating that stuff from my being and world. And I guess I relate to release in the sense of the downsizing, because I'd say, oh, I'm kind of downsizing, I'm going through all my stuff. After all, after 80 years, I collected a lot of treasures. And people say, oh yeah, I'm doing that too. And oh, it's hard. And this is another opportunity to call on our power and zeal, say, okay, this is something that's here for me to do, and get to it. And our third power for this morning, and the last of the 12 powers, is the power of life. And the theme associated to it is naturally creative. And it's the color red is associated with it. And it's located in the reproductive organs, and the disciple is Judas. And I have to go back a minute. I forgot to give you this wonderful affirmation for release. And it actually is from a book that referred to it as elimination. It's divine elimination now cleanses me, spirit, soul, body. I am made new. And I like that. And another one is, I'm willing to be and give my best and let go of the rest. I think we've all had experiences where we had a number of things that were in that last section. Things to let go that aren't helping us going forward. Now, going back to the energy of life, it's the, one of the authors describes it, the spiritual power of life is the very essence of the universe. Life is the active principle. Life is the creating energy that requires direction. We have the life power, and part of our job, so to speak, is to direct it to the highest good of ourselves, everyone around us, and the whole planet. And an affirmation is the life source is spiritual energy composed of ideas, and I can turn it on by making mental contact with it. And then feel that energy working through you. And this affirmation stood out of the ones that I was reading. My mind, body, and activities are now filled with rejuvenating life. I am filled and thrilled with rejuvenating life in all that I am, do, and have. And Charles Fillmore said when he got to be 50, some of us may relate to that, and he said he began to notice his body was not quite as youthful and strong as it had been, and his hair was turning color. And so he started taking time out and just affirming life, life, life. And he said he also took time in meditation to go and speak to each center of the inner powers that we've talked about, and told them that he wasn't ready to give up. He wanted to remain healthy, and he had kept that up. And he said actually his wrinkles went away, the crow's feet left, and he was able to maintain his activity. And one of the affirmations that, and he's the one who said, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do those things that ought to be done by me. And he was sharing that when he was 93, and he lived for several years after that. One of the affirmations that I like that activates the energy of the life center is, I am alive, alert, awake, joyous, and enthusiastic about life. And in my personal experience, whenever I get kind of down and things weigh on me, when I've listened to the news, it helps me to change and get my energy back up. And another affirmation that I like is life, life, life. I am filled and thrilled with revitalizing life. And as you've probably figured out over the weeks when we've been talking about the 12 powers, each of the 12 powers we could probably do a whole workshop on, or spend a whole morning on each one. So this will give you kind of an overview of what they're about. And now, one of my sources had a lovely 12-power meditation. And so for this morning, since we're finishing up the 12 powers, it seemed appropriate to do this 12-power meditation. Now, it's an act, we call for the Christ within us to activate the various powers. But you don't need to worry that something's going to happen you're not prepared for, because your Christ self is in charge. So if you need to see a vision, you may get a vision. If you just need to kind of rest in that energy, or if you just want to ignore it, you can do that too. It's all up to you. However, I found this very helpful, and the lady that I got it from, her website, said she started using this, and she said she started being calmer, and it helped her through when she came down with COVID. And so she was very grateful for that. So, if you like, just kind of, that'll be our meditation today. Just sit and be comfortable. And I will read it in the first person. So just put your attention on your Christ self. And it begins, there is one presence and power in the universe, God, and I am one with that power as the light of God surrounds me. And focusing on the power of faith, which is associated with the indigo blue at the top of the head. The Christ in me now activates faith. I trust God, knowing God's will for me is for my highest good. I give thanks for the gift of faith. Focusing now on the faculty of strength, which is light green, is associated with it, and it is associated with the small of the back. The Christ in me now activates strength. I am strong and unafraid. Strength surges through me, giving me energy, endurance, and vigor. I give thanks for the faculty of strength. Turning now to the faculty of wisdom, which is associated with the color yellow and located at the solar plexus. The Christ in me now activates wisdom. I perceive beyond appearances and am guided by divine intuition into wise and perfect ways. I give thanks for the faculty of wisdom. Focusing now on love, which is associated with the color pink and located in the heart. The Christ in me now activates love. I am a radiating center of divine love, loved and loving to everyone, including myself. I give thanks for the faculty of love. Turning now to the faculty of power, which is associated with color purple and located in the throat. The Christ in me now activates power. My thoughts and words now vibrate with spiritual power. I give thanks for the faculty of power. Focusing now on imagination, which is associated with color light blue and located in the forehead. The Christ in me is now activating imagination. I see creative new ways to do what is mine to do, and new opportunities to experience God's good, which is flowing through me into my life. I give thanks for the gift of imagination. Turning to the faculty of understanding, which is associated with gold, and it's located at the front of the head. The Christ in me now activates understanding. God is present in all situations and in every relationship. This perfect outworking of every situation is being revealed to me now. I give thanks for the faculty of understanding. To the power of will, associated with silver and located in the center of the head. The Christ in me now activates will. God's will for me is for good at all times and in all places. My divinely guided choices strengthen me and give me and grow me into the greatness within me. I give thanks for the faculty of will. And to the power of order, associated with dark green and located at the belly button. The Christ in me now activates perfect order. My spiritual path unfolds in proper sequence. Divine timing and order are now established in my life. I give thanks for the faculty of order. Turning now to zeal, associated with the color saffron or orange, and located at the back of the head. The Christ in me now activates zeal. I am enthusiastic and excited about life. I feel good pouring through me, and I experience miracles in my life. I give thanks for the faculty of zeal. Bring our attention to release, which is associated with color amber and located in the lower abdomen. The Christ in me now activates release. I am free of the past and release all false and useless attitudes, emotions, and reactions. I am one with God and life. I give thanks for the faculty of release. And now to the faculty of life, we turn our attention. It's associated with the color red, and it represents, it's located in the reproductive organs. The Christ in me now activates life. Every cell of my being is charged with the pure restorative life of God. The more I appreciate my life, the more life gives me to appreciate. I give thanks for the faculty of life. Take a moment and feel and perhaps see all of our power centers radiating their energies and colors. There is only one presence and power, God the good, omnipotent. Father, Mother, God, and I are one. And now as you feel ready, start coming back, being comfortable in your chair, opening your eyes, and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. And I actually want to thank both Vivian and Paul for taking us on our journey through the 12 hours. Okay. Now I get to introduce Michael Colbeck, who is our speaker today. Michael is the proud father of 3 beautiful adult daughters. Has any father said that they're not beautiful daughters? Anyway. He is an ordained minister and a practicing Reiki master. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Iowa State University and Associate of Arts in Bible. Gotta watch this one. He's a black belt in Taekwondo and an aspiring black belt in ninjutsu? Jitsu?
Yeah.
Close enough. Consisting of practices in White Tiger Kung Fu, Tai Chi, and Qigong, all of which he believes is beneficial along the path of self-discovery and mastery. Having a deeply rooted religious background, he considers himself first and foremost a student and teacher of all things spiritual, seeking to live his truth in all its varied ways. He's going to be speaking on saying yes to you and invites you to begin noticing where you may be denying yourself the desires of your heart, the very desires and callings that lead to greater magic and freedom in our lives. Let's welcome Michael.
All right. I'm just going to take a moment to say, I can't believe I'm actually up here. There'll be a little bit about that at the end of my share today. But I like the last part here when we're talking about life with the 12 powers because I am alive and I'm awake. It feels good to proclaim that. That kind of plays into a few things I'll share here as well. So, about a month ago, I said yes to me. Something I've become very good at, but didn't used to be very good at. A month ago, I said yes to me, but it started back in June of this year. I went down to Houston and the Anderson Cancer Center for one of my fun little 6-month follow-ups for the cancer treatments and stuff that I'd had. And while I was down there that week, I was working, doing my thing, staying in a nice little apartment there, had a great pool, going to my appointments. And sometimes when you get away from your home base, you just get a little bit of clarity, right? While I was down there, I realized I need to get away a little bit more. I need to get out. So I made a commitment to myself and said, all right, I don't know where I'm going to go, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this October I'm going to go somewhere for a week. Came back home, time went on, I'm sitting there working away, doing remote work from home. Next thing I know, it's October 1st. Uh-oh. I had made this commitment to do something for a whole week in October. Here I am on October 1st. Now, I wasn't completely remiss Because over the last couple of months I'd gone out on VRBO, Airbnb, bookmarked a few places here and there, looking at cabins, whatever, up in northwest Iowa, and some places down in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. I bookmarked the ones that I liked, and as I sat there on October 1st, I thought, well, you know what, I got to do something, so I booked 3 days off at work, tied them into a weekend, said, okay, well, I've got 5 days there, it's around my birthday, I'll figure out how the 7 days is actually going to work as I get closer, which is something I have a tendency to do. But I was already playing a little game with myself. I was already playing this little game going, oh, I'll get to the 7 days later, maybe. I was already shortening that 7-day commitment. About a week later, I had a conversation with a couple of friends. These were a couple of wonderful ladies. We've been friends for years now. We were just talking about anything under the sun. And I got talking about taking this potential trip to northwest Iowa. Or maybe Eureka Springs. And as I went on and shared with both of them about these two possibilities, most of which the time was spent on Eureka Springs talking about that, when I got done, they were both sitting there smiling at me. And I said, what? And they said, dude, don't you hear yourself? And I knew right away what they were going to say. They said, you're present, you're hearing the conversation and everything. You're talking about going on these possible trips, but somehow, something comes alive in you when you start talking about Eureka Springs. It's like, wow, oh, there's Michael. We can actually see there's his passion, there's his aliveness in him. And I started laughing because I knew that they were right. I knew that the energy doesn't lie. And we got done with the conversation, and they said to me before we hung up, they said, so Michael, what are you going to do when you get off the phone? I started laughing and I said, well, considering that you've been such wonderful mirrors reflecting back to me that which I already knew, I said, it looks like I'm going to be booking 7 days off and going to Eureka Springs here in the next week or two. And so the next day, I took 7 days off on work, my work calendar, said, hey guys, I'm going to be out. Sat down with my phone. I said, you know what, let's just see if that place that I bookmarked, there was a particular place in Eureka Springs that I was drawn to. So not a place I would normally stay. Let's just see if it's available for the 7 days. Lo and behold, it actually was, which surprised me. I thought, what more do I need for confirmation? So I'm sitting there in the recliner, I'm about ready to press reserve, and all of a sudden the story starts. A story that says, 7 days? Are you kidding me? What are you going to do in Eureka Springs for 7 days? You're not even going with anybody else. You're going by yourself. And plus, let's be real here. You don't work. You don't get paid. So if you take 2 or 3 days off the trip and actually work those days, just think about the money you'll have. So those little stories went on their way. I didn't try to fight them or argue with them. They are what they are, right? And I took that moment to just kind of breathe, just kind of feel within here. I knew that I wanted to honor my commitment. I knew the powerful reflections that I'd gotten from a couple of friends in that conversation. And I clicked reserve. And with that, I was overcome with like excitement and freedom. I don't know why exactly, but I kind of jumped up from the chair. I started laughing. I was just kind of like, oh, yes, this feels so good. And then a minute later, I'm shedding tears for whatever reason. Now, there were tears of joy, but as I paced the floor of my living room, walking back and forth, feeling this excitement coming through, I had another insight, another piece of clarity. It suddenly dawned on me that this was my first trip that would be non-cancer related since January of 2019. When I was diagnosed with stage 3 rectal cancer, which was like that close to stage 4. And again, I was overcome that moment with emotion. A few tears were shed, but there was more an excited feeling. It was more like, wow, now I understood why I felt such freedom when I clicked reserve on that. I was like, this is going to be awesome. I get to go down to Eureka Springs. I get to do this stuff. I get to have nothing on my calendar. None of it has to be related to cancer or health or any type of goal or anything. I'm just going to go and experience. And actually, I knew when I was heading down to Eureka Springs that I would be speaking here this Sunday. I tried coming up with a couple of talking points ahead of that. Things weren't just gelling together very well on a couple of them, so I thought, I'm just going to put them away. Maybe something will come in Eureka Springs. And actually, while I was down in Eureka Springs, staying at the Piedmont Bed and Breakfast there, sitting in the common room, looking out over the Ozark Mountains with these trees and all of their beautiful colors, and the big statue of Jesus that stands up there from the Passion Play with his arms outstretched, all of that right out my window while I wrote this message today. But it was all possible only because I said yes to me. But it wasn't always like this. About 5 or 6 years ago, it was quite the opposite. All my life up until about 5 or 6 years ago, I was a people pleaser. Always saying yes to everybody else, taking care of everybody else, fixing everything. All of my beliefs and everything were built up on all of the shoulds, all of the rules, all the supposed to's, the obligations, because if I don't do it, who else is going to do it? Some people would say, oh, well, that's great. But the problem was, all of my yeses, almost all of my yeses at that time, they were for everybody else. And they were almost always at the expense of me. I mean, I didn't really even figure into the equation in any way. There were times occasionally where I would say yes to myself for certain things, but it was always such a trial and a tribulation just to say yes to me. In the moments where I did say yes to me, it felt very uncomfortable. And right after I would say yes to me, there was all this judgment, all this shame and this guilt that I would feel. I didn't really know it was that at the time, but that's what I discovered in part of my healing journey. And there would be those judgments like, you're saying yes to you? Like, who do you think you are? You don't deserve that. Somebody else deserves it more than you. So I had to work a lot on learning how to say yes to me. You see, in the past, my yeses were all over here. They were all for somebody else. I was what I would call an unbalanced giver. And I would receive messages lots of times, just in the experiences of life or in that still small voice, that I didn't really recognize those messages as for me, because I really couldn't receive them. It's interesting that as an unbalanced giver, we're generally not that good at receiving. Anything that I received, I automatically gave to somebody else, because I wasn't really supposed to have that, right? In the next few years, I've learned how to say yes to myself. It's like the pendulum was stuck over here for so long that when I finally started saying yes to myself, it swung back and it hung, needed to stay over in this side. Still a little unbalanced, but that's where it needed to be in order for me to practice and learn what it is like to say yes to myself. I said yes to me to go to Eureka Springs, and about 5 or 6 years ago, I said yes in another way. It was in a very painful way, actually. It was altogether different, because my yeses had been for everybody else for so long. But on this fateful day, I said yes to me as I left behind my family, my home, and my life. Everything that I held sacred, everything that I had worked and given my heart and soul for. because the truth is the pain of life had reached a point where I couldn't take it anymore. The truth could no longer be denied. And so the universe, God, was getting my attention in the most painful way. One of my mentors stated that he'll speak to you in that still small voice, but if you continue not to listen, that still small voice will get louder and louder, and it will become a deafening roar. And then it will progress to a place of what he termed massive instability. That was exactly where I was 5 or 6 years ago. But that act of saying yes to me, to finally say, hey, you know what? I'm sacred too. I'm worthy too. Rather than waiting for the validation, the acknowledgement, the appreciation, things that weren't ever going to come in that particular relationship. Rather than continuing to wait, I finally said yes to me. And it altered the course of my life. So I was living on my own. I was taking care of my family still, doing all the things that I needed to do, but I was also doing a lot of inner work. Working with a trauma therapist for the domestic violence that I had encountered and gone through for so many years. And little by little, I was taking baby steps back home to myself. And during all of this time, there was times where I just needed a break. I needed something to escape to. So I thought, well, you know what? This game has always looked really cool. I'm not a gamer or anything like that. But for whatever reason, this game kind of drew me. I stopped into one of the GameStop stores. They had an Xbox in this game that I could get for like $100 used. I thought, that's great, man. $100? Awesome. But I did not leave with the game. In fact, it caused me so much turmoil just trying to say yes to this doggone thing that I ended up going into my next therapy session with my counselor, and we ended up discussing it and playing with it. And at the end of that therapy session, she said, what if you were to grant yourself permission, Michael? What if you were to allow yourself to go back to that place and buy that? In fact, I want to challenge you that before our next session, you go, you buy that game, you play that game, you experience it, and then you come back here and you share it with me and you talk about it with me. Well, she knew exactly that that was the desire of my heart, that that's what I wanted to do at the time. She kind of threw down a challenge for me, and so I did it. And it seems really crazy because it seems like it's just a game, or it's just $100. But it wasn't even that. The real aspect was, could I say yes to myself? Or was I going to let all the stories inside say, oh, no, 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 no. You don't need to spend $100 on you for that. You don't need to sit back and play this game. You've got X, Y, and Z that you're supposed to be taking care of. It was all an essential step in unraveling all of these yeses that had been for everybody else, and now trying to make some yeses for me for once. Like everything else in life, saying yes to you is a practice. If you don't do it very often, it might be a little bit uncomfortable, right? So what do you do if it feels uncomfortable? What do you do if it feels uncomfortable when you want to say yes to you, when you actually want to make you a priority? You play with it. You get curious with it. Just like a kid does. A kid goes out into the world, they get curious, and they play. And that's how they discover. They don't only discover things about the world, they discover things about themselves, why they play with it. So if you're willing for a few minutes this morning, I'd like to take you through a little exercise. Just take a deep breath and just play with it just for a moment. We're not going to make any decisions here that have to be done outside of this room. We're not going to make any commitments that you have to take from here. We're just going to play in this moment. And as you sit and take one deep breath, after another. Just allow yourself to drop into your body. Allow that feeling of relaxation. Allow yourself to have that release, as we were talking about 12 hours earlier. And as you continue to breathe, just think about your heart space. And feel as though you're opening that space. As big as you are comfortable with. And then what is one thing that you desire to say yes to for you? What is that one thing? And maybe you have a number of things that come up. That's okay, just choose one. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's a conversation you'd like to have with somebody. Maybe it's pursuing a dream or a night out or just simply some time alone. What is that thing you want to say yes to for you? And what if in this moment you gave yourself permission to say yes to that thing? What does it feel like? What are the sensations that you notice in your body? Maybe there's parts that are tense. Maybe there's parts of you that are uncomfortable. Maybe there's parts that are excited, that almost feel free. Maybe it's a little bit of both. And now just take your awareness to your thoughts. Just kind of notice what's there. Sometimes our thoughts and our feelings can be the same. Sometimes they can be different. Are there thoughts of judgment there? Maybe there's a thought there that says, oh, yes, this would be so awesome. Just notice without judgment. And then when you are ready, just take a look at these various parts of self that we've talked about, that you become aware of. And let them know that you see them, that you hear them, and welcome them in. They are parts of you. And the only thing they want is to be validated, to be seen. Just like what we would do for a little child. We wouldn't shun them, we wouldn't push them away. Instead, we embrace them, we comfort them. And welcoming them in, welcoming these parts of self in, it doesn't mean that they get to make the decisions, that they get to call the shots or anything. It just means we're validating them, we're welcoming them, we're allowing them to be seen. Because after all, they are part of you. A few mantras that I have found useful in learning to say yes to me is all permission granted. And another, what's highest and best for me is highest and best for all. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes and come back. And this last mantra of what's highest and best for me is highest and best for all, it goes back to the saying, you can't serve from an empty well, which is the place I served from for so long. It cost me way more than I ever would have thought. And in my opinion, it was the cause of my cancer. Decades and decades and decades of living out there, completely other-oriented to the neglect and abandonment of myself. Jesus also had to say yes to himself in order to be able to serve others. One thing that always kind of frustrated me, I grew up going to church a lot, obviously, going to Bible college, as was read earlier. And to this day, what frustrates me a little bit when I go into some of these places is there's so much teaching about Jesus' teaching and the way that he served. And very little of that teaching is speaking about how he went away. Verse after verse is there about Jesus went away. Jesus went away to pray. Jesus took some time alone. Jesus went off with his disciples to pray. That's that balance that had to be there. He had to say yes to himself and give to himself before he could give anything to anybody else. It's a piece of the message that I missed all of those years ago. So 30 years ago, I went away to Bible college. And after getting out, I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. So I just got a regular job, and I ended up going around and doing some pulpit supply work at various churches in Iowa all throughout my 20s. Probably speaking a few times a year here and there. But today is actually the first time that I've spoke in front of people in 20 years. Thank you. So how did that happen exactly? Well, I said yes to me. See, a few things in life changed here recently in the last, 6 to 8 months. It's been a long road back to me. And in the last 6 to 8 months, I finally was able to move back down here to West Des Moines. I started attending Unity. And on the first Sunday when I was here, Mavis was up speaking. And I had that same feeling that I always have when somebody else is up in front and I'm not. I have this feeling where I can hardly contain myself in my seat. And it's a very conscious thing that I have to sit there and tell myself, keep your feet right here. Because where I really desire to be is up front. Not for validation, not for recognition. It's not because the speaker that's up there is doing a bad job or anything like that. But it feels so natural. It feels so normal to me. And so I decided while Mavis was up here speaking, I thought, I don't know how this works here. I'm going to reach out to somebody at Unity. So I sent an email off when I got home. Next thing you know, Deb and I are talking, and the next thing you know, I'm scheduled for November 20th. All because I decided to say yes to me. So the question remains as we close, what will you say yes to for you in your life? And are you on the list of priority? You can't expect anybody else to make you a priority in life if you're not willing to do that for yourself. And the fact is, if you're like I was, where you're so unbalanced in your giving consistently and constantly to others, that even if somebody comes along and you're unbalanced in your giving that way, if somebody comes along and offers you the most wonderful, beautiful gift in the world, you're probably not actually going to be able to receive it. It's taken a long time to get back to this place where this pendulum now finally swings from here for yes to others, from yeses to me, back to yeses to others. It's balanced now. And it took me a number of years to get to this place. But the truth is, now my yeses, when they're for me, they're authentic. They're from here. When my yeses are for others, they're authentic. They're from here. They're not done out of obligations or what I should do. So remember, as you begin practicing saying yes to you in your life, remember this very simple truth, that what's highest and best for me is highest and best for all. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but that really hit home for me. Thank you, Michael. Now, let's take an offering for the community or the Unity Center of Des Moines. If you would like to share your resources with Unity of Des Moines, if you're joining us online, you're welcome to go to our website, unitydesmoines.com, to donate. Keeping in mind, all gifts offered, both physical and spiritual, I offered this affirmation. You will find this on page 1 of your booklet. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I thankfully acknowledge God as my source. Justin? We dedicate this offering to do the work of the Spirit of Truth through the people of Unity Center of Des Moines, and we are grateful. Please join us for some coffee, tea, and treats, and I've already seen some of the treats, and they're fantastic today. All of you are welcome in the community room. What I'd like for us to do is stand if you feel comfortable. Hold hands in a wonderful circle. Doesn't matter how many circles. We're going to do our closing song. And I apologize we don't have the words up, but Justin is going to be singing, or is going to be playing for us.
It's a different level of it too. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I'm 41, but my sister is like 10 years younger, and you know her grief is different because I think she's, you know, she's thinking about like what she's not gonna have. Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's different. Yeah.
So we've both just gone over it ourselves, and I just through life have found myself helping people buy a lot, and we just have kind of more of a practical approach. It's not so much like I feel him, right?
Yeah.
But just like how to just talk to him, even if you don't, he doesn't answer you back.
I love it. I think that's so important. You're not by chance a deaf person, are you?
Well, I'm thinking of it because that it comes up a lot.
Maybe you should, yeah, because the reason I ask is because a friend of mine, her father's in memory care, and a couple weeks ago she said, we're going to be the deaf people. That's how important and amazing is that? I mean, you have a bird. Why should we have a
Complicated process that we all have to go through.
Right? Why don't we? And I think that is, I think, a huge gift to provide an outcome, right? I don't know, I feel like I'm supposed to be here, so I'm just so excited to be here and be singing. And is this your husband? It's really special. Yeah, this musical relationship that you guys have, the singing, and it's really special. So
We really love each other too. I guess we kind of have a little couple band.
I can feel it. Like it's really special. So, do you have a flyer out there about it, or can I see it on the?
Oh, about that thing? No. Showers is I do have flyers. We still have to tour. There in my little thing I talked about.
Yeah, I know it's not an event, but that's out there too.
They're
Okay,
out there on the
cool.
tables over there, and you get a hold of me that way.
I'll just put it in my phone now. So December 1st to 6/13. I think my mom would want to go to that too.
Morning, Noel.
Yeah, great. Great. And remind your name again. Sarah. My sister Sarah, so I won't forget that. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it so much. Hi, I'm Lucy. I loved this so much, the music and being here. So I was in the drum circle, but this is my first service, and this was super fun. Oh, I'm gonna be back for sure. I'm supposed to be here for sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm excited.
Did Kevin come with you today? Or was he?
No, he didn't come with me. No, he's like family.
Is he the one that led the drum unit?
He was, yeah. He's a really special man. He, you know, I credit him for finding it to kind of get through my mother's passing right now. Yeah, he's been a huge support. Yeah, it's been huge. It's good to meet you, Sarah. Thank you so much.